This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome in, everybody, to this week's edition of Doc and Jock, Guns A-Blazing, here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my guy, Adam, the Jock Strozinski. What's up, cuz?
Pew, pew, pew. Let's go. Dude, how come when we do these podcasts, we come off of draft lottos where we just take penises in the butts? What's going on with this? There's something's got to give. Something's got to change. Honestly, the Pistons, I think, are the only team that's ever won the draft lotto or has like moved up to a substantial spot where you feel good about everything. What I witnessed on Tuesday night makes me so upset, and I can't wait for us to talk about it.
Yeah, it was crazy because the way in which it went down, everybody in Detroit kind of had that trepidation. Everyone thought, okay, it's only 14% that the Pistons were going to land it. But the way in which it shook out, I think, really deflated, and it just felt like the fan base of the Pistons really crashed into a brick wall going 100 miles an hour. And here's why. It went perfectly. I was outside. I got home just at 8 o'clock, right when they started talking about it, and then they start revealing it after 15 minutes of opining and wasting time and all that. They always do that at ESPN. So finally they start, and it goes to form. 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And then it's like 5 Pistons, and everyone's like, fuck. And then you start realizing the Pistons dropping to 5 was the first drastic change of the lottery. And then you're like, what the hell? How unfortunate is it that the Pistons don't have the opportunity to get the number 1 pick? Not only did they fall, they fell into the worst possible situation in regards to the lottery. And that's what made everybody upset. Everybody's talking about how crappy a system it is. When you look at it, I actually thought, not doing a lot of research on the NBA lottery, that the Pistons would have a lot higher chance than just 14%. So what everybody thought going into it was, the Pistons aren't going to win it. There's no chance the NBA would let Victor Wembanyama, a player that projects to be the next LeBron, Michael Jordan, Kobe, and is going to perform at a high level quickly. There's no way the league is going to let him go to the Pistons. Everyone thought that, he's going to go to the Spurs. He's going to go to the Spurs. And then all of a sudden you realize, what the hell? The Spurs have gone up nearly 90% of the time in the NBA lottery, while the Pistons are going down in over 85%. How the hell is that possible?
Out of six chances to move up in the draft lotto, the Spurs have moved up 5 times.
Exactly.
Let that tell you everything you need to know.
It's a shitty system. And unfortunately, everybody in Detroit, in regards to basketball, realizes the opportunity to be supremely relevant is over. And I know Troy Weaver will do things, but when you look at it, it does lead to a lot of decreased interest in the NBA, in my mind, because it just makes it almost that much harder to climb the mountain. It's just really tough to believe that the Pistons in the next 5 years, even with Cade, Ivy, and Jalen Duren, you just realize, okay, maybe you can be, at best, with this crew, at best, you can be the 76ers. And that's a team that just gets spanked all the time by the likes of the Celtics or the Bucks because they got proven superstars in their prime. So that's what sucks. It just really deflates hope when you look at how this is set up. The NBA lottery system is terrible. It doesn't reward tanking. So I just think that moving forward, I think the tanking era of the Pistons is now officially over.
Yeah, look, if you're the Detroit Pistons, you obviously have to figure something else out. If you're Troy Weaver, you have to come up with a new strategy, something different, something that's going to help get this team over the top, whether it's going into the draft and finding some mercurial talent with the 5th pick or trading that 5th pick away and getting a proven superstar, which is the way I would probably go about it at this point. You have a very young team. You need an adult in the room, somebody who can perform. You go find a guy who is forcing his way out of another team or off another team and try to bring them in, trade for that person, bring them in, try to sign them to an extension and go from there. But look, I think this is so frustrating if you are a Detroit fan because, like you said, this was one of those things. It was the first major change. Like as they're going through on ESPN and there's like, okay, nothing's changed. Everything has stayed the same. Nothing has changed. You get to 5. And my hope was like anybody but the Pistons at 5. Anybody but the Pistons at 5. And it's the Pistons at 5. And 5 is as low as the Pistons can drop. The Pistons can't fall any lower. That was their bottom. They were the worst team in the NBA last year. And because they were the worst team in the NBA, the lowest that they could fall were 4 spots past the number 1 seed. And they did it. Somehow it all worked out to where they did it. They had an equal percentage chance to 2 other teams to get the first overall pick, and this team somehow manages to fall all the way to 5. If you tell me that these lotto systems aren't rigged, I want you to go away. I want you to get in a boat and just go float someplace and just get out of my face, because you will never ever convince me that these lotto systems aren't rigged. When the draft was unfolding, Pistons go 5. I'm in a conversation with my buddy who's a big NBA fan, and instantly I said Houston's getting Wembanyama, and he responds not even 3 seconds later, Houston's getting him. So we were at the same time sending each other the same text message. So then Houston's number ends up getting called, and I was like, well, that's interesting. I was like, so it's got to be San Antonio. You knew he was going to Texas. Whether it was Houston or whether it was San Antonio, you knew he was going to one of those 2 places. And sure as shit, it was San Antonio. It is incredibly frustrating to be a team in an area like this, in a market like this, where you're just not big enough to be one of the big dogs, but you're also not small enough to be completely irrelevant. You're somewhere in the middle, and that's what you always get. As far as draft picks go, you always get something that's just stuck in the middle, and that's what we've got. You've got pick number 5. You've got the lowest pick outside of the top impact players is what you get, right? So you are at the very bottom of all of that, and then it gets into whatever the rest of this draft is going to be. It is incredibly frustrating because I knew going into this that the Pistons didn't really have a shot at getting the number 1 overall pick, but I allowed myself to believe, right? I allowed myself to dream a little bit. You'll mess around, you go to Tankathon, and you'll kind of do the simulations for the draft lotto just to kind of see, mess with stuff, kind of put lineups together in your head, and you're like, all right, cool. If they get Wembanyama, they got Cade. Cade comes back healthy. Jaden Ivey. If Duren can take that next step forward, they go out and they pick up a veteran piece, a guy who can come in and just be that piece that they need to get them over the top. You could really have a dangerous team here for the next couple of years, a team that could really push and really do some damage if they get in the playoffs. And then what happens? The lotto unfolds, and it's just like a cold bucket of reality. It is incredibly frustrating, man. It pisses me off when these things happen. It's like we have no chance. You have no shot. There's nothing you can do. I mean, it is. I don't know. You just feel destitute, you know? Like you feel stuck. And I think that's the worst part. You feel stuck.
Yeah, and what sucked was I did the Tankathon almost 40 times, and I only got the Pistons maybe once or twice to be at the top, so it kind of braced it. But it just, like I said, it's unfortunate that it's the Spurs, and how lucky are they that the couple times they end up in the lottery, they end up with David Robinson, they end up with Tim Duncan, and now Wembanyama. I mean, come on. Yeah. That is crazy. And then I think what pissed everybody off is you got their owner, screaming at the top of his lungs, showing all the excitement, and it's just really tough because it just makes the climb that much harder. I think Pistons fans aren't really confident right now that Troy Weaver is going to do anything because you're hearing names like Kevin Ollie as being the next coach. Maybe Monty.
Dude, I was going to bring that up to you.
It's like you're not. It's like in the end, it just always feels second rate. And I think the last time that the Pistons felt really relevant was when they got the number 1 pick, but that got doused quickly because Cade needs work. He's not transcendental. And I don't know if you heard, but Colin Cowherd just shit all over Cade Cunningham in regards to saying on his nationally syndicated program, he says that, look, nobody cares about Cade Cunningham. He doesn't move the needle. And it doesn't bring added attention, especially after coming off of a season in which he's already injured. It just doused all the momentum that getting the number one pick had in an ADD society. It's like, Kate who? And that's what sucks, is that this player would have garnered the Pistons so much media attention, so many more nationally televised games, relevancy, maybe even getting to the postseason as soon as 2023, 2024. So that's why it just feels like a huge brick wall was put up, and the car is totaled with no hope of getting a new one.
And look, you touched on it yourself right there. You brought up Kevin Ollie. You mean to tell me the best the Pistons can do with this coaching hire is go out and get a guy like Kevin Ollie? Not saying there's anything wrong with Kevin Ollie, but where does Kevin Ollie really fall in your pecking order of coaches? I think when we sat down and we did this a couple months ago and we were going through possible coaching candidates, Kevin Ollie was like towards the back end. Kevin Ollie was like the 4th or 5th selection for us. So you mean to tell me again, you're going to take the 4th or 5th selection? Like, that is what Detroit has become. They are second rate. They are a second class team in the NBA. This is what you get. This is what you deserve. If you had an owner who was worth a damn, you had a franchise that was worth a damn, you would go out and you would interview different coaches, guys who just recently got fired, guys who have won NBA coaches of the year, bring them in and see if they can help jumpstart this deadbeat organization. Legit, this organization is on life support right now. And what you're telling me is whoever you're taking at 5 and Kevin Ollie are supposed to help resuscitate it and get you back to some sort of relevancy. Good luck with that. Good luck. I feel like we are watching the Pistons, or we are watching the Tigers, but in Pistons uniforms. This is the stepping stone to the rebuild. We are in rebuild mode number 2 again. So thanks a lot. It is absolutely frustrating to hear a name like Kevin Ollie being pitched as the Pistons' future head coach. It just makes no sense to me. What was your initial reaction when this news started to kind of trickle out to you and you got this? Because when I heard it, I just kind of shook my head and I was like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, this team can't buy a win anywhere.
You know what? It's so desperate right now, and I think the prevalent mindset is, here's what I'm saying. I'm throwing it out there. Just go out and get Doc Rivers. He is the definition of bridge. You don't even have to lie to everybody. Look, we need Doc to get us to the postseason and lose a couple times, and then we'll fire him. It's just that clear. He'll get you to the postseason. The team will play energetically. They won't ever win a Game 7. They won't win the big game, but he'll get you to something. Doc Rivers is the perfect coach right now for the Pistons if it's not Monty Williams, because Monty's going to be coveted, and he should look to take Toronto or take Milwaukee. He needs to get that next job where it's not a rebuild. I don't think he wants to go from the Suns to the Pistons. I just think that Doc Rivers is the perfect coach at this point in time. And in my mind, it has to be an established coach. Just somebody that's done it before. Three candidates that haven't done it before does nothing. That's worse than a bridge. That's basically buying a used car. And I think I'll just take a 2022 car as opposed to a 2018 with 100,000 miles and no hope of ever doing anything. So at least for me, Doc Rivers represents the definition, the true definition of, hey, he'll get something out of these players, he'll develop some talent, and then when the time comes, we can find the next Monty Williams or the guy that's going to take the team far into the postseason.
I mean, look, everything's a fluid situation right now. Monty Williams is the guy who's number 1 on top of my list. But you're right. Doc Rivers is a guy who you can bring in, and he could facilitate a little bit of change, or at least you would hope he'd be able to facilitate some change. If you hire Doc Rivers, I don't think you have any anticipation of winning the NBA championship. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to establish a culture, you're trying to change things, and you're trying to build a team and teach young players how to perform as professionals. I think what you ended up getting with Dwayne Casey, especially the latter years, Dwayne Casey didn't know what the hell to do. Dwayne Casey had no clue how to mold players, how to shape these guys, how to get the most out of them. Look, the league is constantly changing, and we're going to end up talking about a player who is transformative in the league and why what he's done is so harmful to the league. We're going to talk about that in a few moments, but you have to be able to connect to young players. You've got to be able to get in their ear and be able to communicate with them in such a way to help them understand. Look, I don't think Doc Rivers is a great coach. I don't think Doc Rivers is any great shakes as a head coach. But I think Doc Rivers is a pretty decent communicator and can help get into the earbud of a few young players and help elevate some of what they do. And again, teach them how to be a professional. I don't think what you've had with this organization over the last year and a half, last 2 years, has been incredibly professional. I think it's been a lot of young kids. It's almost been a bit of a daycare center. That's why I said you got to go out there and get that veteran. That's why I have no problem if you trade that 5th pick for a young, or to bring a veteran in here to kind of help with this young team and help mold the team that way a little bit. But it is absolutely frustrating. I think Doc Rivers at this moment in time better than Kevin Ollie, and probably your best option. I don't know if he'd come here. I don't know if he'd want to come here. Maybe he has visions of grandeur of winning an NBA title, but Jesus, man, I don't know. It is so frustrating. It is so frustrating if you're a Pistons fan right now.
It is, and it does seem like the Pistons have to make a bold move. I mean, none of the draft picks after number 3 intrigue me, not even the Twins, not even the player that had some issues in regards to off the courts type stuff. None of them appeal to me. It's just, I think you trade, you hope for additional picks, or you find an established player. On Twitter, which was crazy, because obviously I think the funny part of Twitter is people now understand, okay, this dude's just asking questions, trying to be funny, and obviously when it comes with a GIF, you know it's being funny. But I thought I just threw it out there because the theory and the rationale behind it was Ja Morant kind of represents a player that maybe needs a change of scenery, obviously with his friends and what he's doing with guns. And you say to yourself, okay, the Pistons probably have to do something bold. Maybe you give up the number 5 pick. I was even considering saying, look, give up a high draft pick if it's 2 or 3 and get somebody established, because a draft pick outside of Victor is just a crapshoot. You never know how it's going to fit. And he's a point guard that I think would score 20 points and would do some things. But I thought the hilarious reaction on Twitter at Detroit Podcast and I'm sorry I tagged you because then you get the wrath of all the 200 comments where people are like,
bro, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me at all.
Good.
I love it.
It was hilarious because most of them were like, Memphis to Detroit is a change of scenery, bro. And I was like, I didn't think of that in that thoughtless tweet. But in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? The mean streets of Birmingham might be able to turn around Ja Morant's career. He's a baller, but he does come with a lot of baggage. So that got some traction online. It was real interesting to see a player that had to meet with the big boss, Adam Silver, tells him, look, I understand a lot of kids see me and I got to be a better role model, sits in the big man's office and spits some bullshit, I guess. And then, less than 2 months later is doing it again, flashing guns. But the more time passes, obviously the first reaction is people are pissed. But now the other side is starting to weigh in saying, look, JJ Redick with his big platform on ESPN says, why are we worried about Ja Morant? He ain't doing nothing illegal. But it's a huge problem in regards to perception. That's not.
It's a league image thing.
Yes,
that's what the problem is.
That's the problem.
It's not so much what you're doing is illegal, but what you're doing is you are harming the image of the league, and you are making it very difficult to sell your product.
Yes. The league doesn't want to sell gangster basketball players. Nobody wants to see that. But, and obviously what's weird is the fact that a guy with an over $200 million contract with all that cash needs that much attention. It's like, how big of an ego do you need? How much attention do you really need to flash yourself on Instagram Live? Do your thing. Play the music loud. Have the gun in the car. Do what you got to do. Just stop going on camera. What is going on with Ja Morant and his crew with the lack of impulse control and the strong need for attention at that level? I get it. You do need an ego to become a top-end athlete. I understand. But at some point, you got to find that healthy balance to turn it off in the offseason. You're an established star. The brand, I mean, literally, I just don't understand when you have that much money, you could create so much fun off of the grid. It is beyond unimaginable that you can't come up with an idea to drive a car, get on a private plane, go somewhere distinct, go to Arizona, go overseas, go to the Bahamas, go to Jamaica, turn off the live part. And the ability to market, it's unbelievable. With over $200 million, if that was presented to me, I'd had 4 people running my phone and be like, okay, you got it from Monday to Wednesday, you got it from Wednesday to Saturday, and you got it all day on Sunday, and handle business and make me look good and never go live. I just, to risk that much money is so crazy. in my mind, because he's going to probably get suspended now for 25 games. So it makes it
if not
tougher.
more.
Yeah, it makes it tougher to maybe trade for a player like that. But I love the debate, and I love the fact that some people really said, yes, Ja Morant is a player you would want here. And what it represents is there are with the Pistons, they need a kind of a jolt. And this was a big setback with the lottery. They need a jolt to get back relevancy. And I think the biggest and best tweet that we got was somebody messaged and said, Lord help, please, Lord help the season ticket reps for the Pistons. How on earth are they going to sell? What the hell is going on? And to that, at Canuck, at CANUCK Duke, I replied and I said, buy one, get 3 free. I mean, there's got to be some specials to get people. I didn't go at all last year, and I don't plan on going again this year because Troy Weaver's got to shake it up, man. And I don't see this team going from 17 to 45 wins. I see 17 to 28, if that.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. As far as Ja Morant goes, it's obviously it's a league issue. It's not so much that it's a legal issue. It's a league issue. And when you have gangsters like leaders of the Crips calling you out and delivering messages to you through other journalists, like you need to stop effing around. You need to stop doing this. You are playing with the wrong game. When you have people like that telling you things, you need to stop and listen. Like for me, what this is a guy who is developmentally delayed, right? All of us kind of go through our little gangster phase or our badass phase where you're the toughest guy on the block. Everybody kind of goes through this. Usually it happens when you're in high school or just out of high school. I understand he's 23 years old. I get that, right? But you have over $200 million waiting for you if you just act regular and you are just be good at your job. He's very good at his job. You realize he cost himself $39,000 by not getting selected to the All-NBA team in his next contract that's coming up. Like, that's a large chunk of change, right? Some people don't earn that in a year, and he just cost himself that much. On top of that, he cost himself with his sponsorships with Powerade. Powerade has pulled back from him. He has a sponsorship with Nike. Nike at this point is thinking about pulling their money from him. You are the guy who was crowned to be the next face of the league. When LeBron goes off and retires, you were supposed to be the guy. You want to sit here and you want to play Tommy Tough Tits and you want to be a gangster and you want to wave guns around. You are not a gangster. You went to private school, bro. Like, I feel like this is a scene from 8 Mile. What is it, Clarence? Where Eminem's like, yeah, he's got real nice parents too. Like, what are we doing here? Like, get your act together, man.
Yes.
Be smarter.
I just sent you the DM. Kwame Brown went off on Ja Morant in one of the best rants that you'll ever hear. And the gist of it is that Kwame Brown's like, dude, Ja, you must be the dumbest MFer I've ever seen. And I think what really hit home, you got to watch it all, is that he just eviscerates Ja Morant. He's like, bro, I hate to break it to you, but the streets don't believe you're hard. You're not that guy. You're not that guy. You're
John,
not him.
Let me tell you this. I've got a group message, right? With there's about 15 of us in this group. All right. I've got people who are about that life. Like, there are people about that life. There are some engineers in this group. There's a random dude like me, and there's a couple of other people. There are guys in this group about that life. And when this stuff started happening, they're like, why is he doing that? He isn't even about this. Like, he doesn't know anything about any of this. He's just a clown. Like, they are laughing at him. And obviously, I hang out with a very diverse group of friends, right? You know where I kind of grew up, and a lot of the people that I grew up with, some of them stayed that way. Others of us kind of went and did other things. But all that being said, there are like the streets are laughing at you. The streets are clowning you. That's my point here, right? The streets are clowning you because nobody buys this tough guy act. Nobody buys that you're this hardened gangster, that you had it tough. There are dudes in your league who have gone through some shit. There are dudes in your league who have had to make it. And you're over here acting like a clown. You are acting like a wannabe gangster. Like, just sit down, shut up, do your job. And look, you are incredible at your job. You are incredible at it. Just hone your craft, and you'll get everything you've ever wanted and more. Instead, you want to go to a strip club and you want to break out a gun in a strip club, you want to throw money everywhere, you want to act like you're shooting a rap video, then you want to get in your car and you want to wave a gun around. And look, even your friends are trying to protect you by knocking the phone out of the way. So when you go Instagram live like an idiot, nobody can see your gun. Too late, dummy. Everybody's already seen it. It's just absolutely insane to me. Just the moronic behavior. All that being said, I'm going to tell you this. I would package that fifth, and I would package Cade, and I would go get myself Ja Morant if I was the Pistons.
Yeah,
I would
bold.
take him. I know he's a headache. I would take him. The dude's too damn good. That's the problem with this league, right? You need a mercurial talent, a guy like a Ja Morant, to help get you over the top. You put Ja Morant with a dude like Jaden Ivey, and Duren takes that next step. Let's go. Let's go. You got a team that's going to compete in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I would do. I mean, I'm being 100% with you. I think he's a boner. I think he's a numbskull. I think he's an idiot. I think he has some type of issue, like real life issue. Like he needs to sit down with a doctor like you. He has some type of issue.
Yes.
All that being said, I would package your first overall pick from a couple of years ago in Cade Cunningham, and I would package your fifth pick to go get Ja Morant right now. Bring him in here.
Yeah, something different. It would sell tickets. It'd be unique, and maybe you at least change the narrative a little bit, because the narrative right now with the Pistons is all bad. And it was just disappointing that it didn't work out in their favor, not even to the point where you can tolerate some disappointment, but to have the worst case scenario coming off of what happened to the Red Wings, it's just a disappointment, and it's another one of those things where I'm not going to be excited about lotteries anymore. It's kind of like, you know what the great-grandfather, the grandfather of Troy Weaver said, and I think it goes to show you the narrative and the banner that will hang for the Pistons over the next 2 or 3 years. The man who expects nothing can't be disappointed. Pistons basketball. All right, let's talk about the Lions. Something way better to talk about. That's what Troy Weaver uttered in a press conference. I'm like, well, I get it. He wasn't expecting the number one pick, but my God, your grandpa's a little bit of a Debbie Downer. My God, Troy.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It makes sense. You can't be disappointed. He expected nothing. But it's your job, Troy, to get this turned around, because the Lions quickly will scoop up all of the headlines starting in late July, when things kick off for training camp. And boy, it was fun to get out there to rookie minicamp to get the first look. But of course, Jahmyr Gibbs injured right away. That was crazy, because it set off everybody's anxiety not seeing him or Brian Branch. But again, it is rookie minicamp. It's literally day one. It's like the first day of school where you just get acclimated. But they were doing some physical things. They were moving around, and it was a fun experience to get out there. And I just thought that it was really nice to see a handful of guys compete hard. And those Iowa boys, cuz they came to work. They were sweating, grinding, and they treated it like it was a real NFL practice.
So I really want to get your impression on all of this, because you've been out there. You've been the closest to it. You've got this platform to really talk about what you're seeing day in, day out when you're going to the minicamp. And I want you to pick one guy that stood out from the rest, and what about him stood out to you?
Yeah, it was obviously two, but obviously my preference is Jack Campbell, but who stood out the most, and I'll talk about Campbell because I obviously love linebackers, love defense, love looking at that intently. I loved Sam Laporta, and it was different, a different vibe, because you're starting to see kind of a little bit more in line with how the Lions are drafting. They're drafting very versatile offensive players that can do a bunch of different things. Laporta, just based on what I saw there, is inside, outside, can be all over, and he just seemed a lot more fluid than TJ Hawkinson was. You could see the size and the hands of Hawkinson, but what he lacked was kind of that athletic nature. He kind of just always caught the ball, and then for whatever reason just fell to the ground or just had his momentum.
Forward.
Yeah, his momentum always made him look like he was stumbling, whereas Laporta caught the ball and just had the fluidity to bring it down and keep moving. It just looked more natural. Now, he's not the biggest dude. He could, disguise as a slot receiver. He's not the biggest tight end, but he is a tall individual. I think over the course of the next few years, when he adds bulk, he'll be a bigger dude. But in regards to what you saw, there was only one quarterback and one running back at rookie minicamp. So Adrian Martinez just was targeting Laporta at such a high rate, and he was getting open. It was great to see. And I don't think he put a ball on the ground. He was just catching the ball, moving all over the place. Obviously made a couple of mistakes that got him yelled at by the coaches. But what they wanted to see was just the movement of the players, how fast they picked up coaching tips. And guys, remember, I know it's big and everybody looks at it, but missing a rookie minicamp practice is nowhere near OTAs or mandatory minicamp, which is upcoming. Rookie minicamp is really football 101, the basics, get out there, move around, and you're not going to glean a whole hell of a lot. Unless some dude just drops every ball passed to him, then it's a problem. Like Adrian Martinez kind of looked a little shaky because it's a new chemistry being built with these receivers, and so he held on to the ball a little bit too long, didn't light the world on fire, but you're not expecting that from Adrian Martinez. You just need a guy to kind of put the ball in the air and throw it somewhere. And I just loved seeing Sam Laporta just shine, and then Jack Campbell in drills was just like, wow, this dude is serious, and he ain't taking the hype in the way in which Laporta is going to be like a little bit more of the energetic dude. I asked Jack Campbell point blank, like, Dan Campbell said that you're going to be the starter. And he took that answer and he's just like, I'm going to work hard every day to do exactly what I need to do to get this football team to win. He's serious, like gritty, like dude, like almost if I was reading his brain was just going to be like, okay, I got to get through this 6 minutes with these reporters and I want to go and start lifting again. I love his attitude. I think he's all about ball. He's like a hunter, dude. He's like a guy that is just all about football and all about wanting to get his shit together. And I loved it. I love his attitude and his fluid. I loved the way he was able to just, the drill is a side-to-side shuffle drill and then picking up a football on the ground. Dude just picked it right up, moved it. They put him in the middle and he looked like he was directing traffic and understood exactly what was happening. And I was just like, wow, this guy, day one ready. He's ready. He'll do the job and he'll be able to, in that scheme alongside Alex, I think in a couple years will be a dude that's going to be the quarterback of this defense. And I think, guys, book it now. The dude is going to have a highlight hit. He's going to have 1 or 2 hits this year where a running back comes in, and it might be a Dalvin Cook, it might be a Kamara, it might be an Aaron Jones. Somebody's going to come up the middle, right looking at Jack Campbell, and he's going to load up and drop them on their ass. And it's going to be talked about nationwide. I can sense it. And I don't know if he's going to flex. I don't know what he's going to do, but that dude will garner attention for old school football. And that's why he was taken. I just was like, wow, seeing it up front. Of course, it's rookie minicamp. I want to see him now go up against David Montgomery, go up against Gibbs, go up against Amon-Ra St. Brown, and see how he does against tight ends, maneuvering through. See how he does against Laporta. But those two guys being teammates is great because they're going to push each other. So it was just great to be out there, just to be around football. And Dan Campbell, obviously, talking about how great it is just to be playing football again. So it's in the air. And it just doesn't feel like, there really is an off season, but there will be a 6-week break from the middle of June till the end of July. But right now it's great. It's off-season workout program where 1 day a week we get to go out there. And then the first week of June, pay attention, that's mandatory minicamp. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the first week of June, we'll be out there for 3 days where it's full team, full reps, and we'll have an opportunity to get the first look at what's going on with the Lions. But guys, if you're out there and you're looking at this Lions football team, it's a lot of positivity right now, and it's just, you can start to see, basically, it's like the way I would describe it, is like all the great ingredients are there for a cake. You got the chocolate chips sitting aside, you got the raspberries, you got the cream, you got the sourdough bread on the side, you got everything that you want in a kitchen, and it's not all put together yet, but you got the ingredients and the kitchen smells real good, and people are walking in going, damn, that smells good, what are you going to make? And you're about to start putting the ingredients together. They're all separate, but they're all amazing, fresh ingredients ready to snack on and ready to put together. And boy, this cake that's going to be built this year is going to be spectacular. It's going to be good. And I just feel like something great's going to happen this year. Maybe it's just that one playoff win that we're all looking for, but it just has a feel of positivity. And as long as they avoid injuries, as long as they avoid any more boneheaded gambling mistakes, if John Morant doesn't get into the group chat with Jamison Williams, we're in good shape. Because if you want to cause a scene, Jamison Williams should roll up in his convertible with John Morant, and then we'll blow up the internet for the next 2 weeks. You know what I mean? But it'll be crazy. Because right now it's good. I think there's a lot of good things to talk about with the Lions in regards to the offense, defense, and how things are going to shake out. But I will say this, cuz the more you dig, starting with KC and Seattle, there might be a small chance 0-2 is staring you in the face, because Seattle always, for some reason, just when you count them out, always brings a performance that you're like, shit, they're playing the Lions game in regards to having a good running attack, having Geno Smith be a game manager, and a nice defense that you're starting to take a look at. That Seattle game, as quickly as I put as a W, that's going to be a tough game. So maybe that first game against KC, you need to take advantage and get that W quick.
So I want to get into a little bit of what the schedule holds, but before that, I want to talk a little bit more about Jack Campbell, and I got a question about Sam Laporta. But sticking with Jack Campbell real quick, does he start? Is he starting game one? Is he a starting linebacker against Kansas City week 1 for this team? And if he is, who does he replace? If not, I think we both believe that he's going to start at some point this year. But at that point, who does he usurp as a starting linebacker? Is it Anzalone or is it Rodriguez?
Yep. And if you guys check out All Lions, just before we dropped the push, just before we pushed play, I wrote a quick story, quick blog about I do believe that it's going to be Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone starting day one, because in base sets, typically the Lions are going to have 2 off-the-ball linebackers. And Alex Anzalone, guys, unfortunately, as crazy as it sounds, as much as the response has been, what the hell, what do you mean your headline is what drafting Jack Campbell means for Malcolm Rodriguez? It means nothing. No, guys, that's not the case. Alex Anzalone's not hitting the bench. Follow the money. The man signed a 3-year deal with over $5 million annually per year. He played 95% of snaps defensively in 2022. Pencil him in. He's seeing the field. So with that said, with 2 off-ball linebackers, you're going to see Jack Campbell right alongside him. Now, that doesn't mean that Rodriguez is going to be banished forever, but he played 55% of snaps. My assessment is going to be probably around 40%, and you're going to mix in Derek Barnes to spell Campbell and Anzalone here and there. But there's going to be some sub-packages where you get Rodriguez in there to thump, and Derek Barnes hopefully still has a spot on this team. But guys, it's the Jack Campbell show, and get ready. Because of what he can do in coverage, you need him hopefully behind a stout defensive tackle just to help limit the run. You need his obviously read and react abilities. So get ready. It's Jack and Alex, baby. It's the Jack and Alex show, and it's going to start pretty quickly.
So with Sam Laporta, does the addition of him and his playmaking ability and his pass catching ability, does that lessen the blow of JMO not being there? Does it kind of help offset? Like, look, I know it's a different skill set, right? Jameson Williams is a guy who's going to be able to take the top off the defense. He's a big play threat waiting to happen all the time. But does Sam Laporta allow you a different option, allow you a different look? And look, it would probably be something more along taking a slant to the house or being able to catch a ball 5 yards down the field and then turn up and get upfield and make stuff happen that way. Does Sam Laporta help offset a little bit of what the loss of Jameson Williams means and brings to this team?
Man, the happiest guy in the football world is Ben Johnson. When you just look at it on paper, David Montgomery, multiple threat option. Jahmyr Gibbs, multiple threat option. Amon-Ra St. Brown has now been open publicly saying he wants the ball thrown to him deep more. Multiple threat option. You also have James Mitchell, more sure-handed, Brock Wright, and Sam Laporta. Now, and we still haven't even talked about Marvin Jones and Khalif Raymond and Josh Reynolds. So you look at it and you say, what the big thing that is diminished now? You don't have that home run threat. You will throw the ball deep. You have to open up the defense. You might throw a couple, just take a shot deep to Marvin Jones and put the ball in a spot where nobody else can get it. But Amon-Ra might get a couple more deep balls. But as long as David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs get you 5-6 yards on first and second down to keep ahead of the sticks, then the playbook just becomes so much more wide open. And yes, I think Sam Laporta is going to get a lot of catches. I think at least 40 in his rookie year. But the offense is going to be spread out. 1 week is going to be Laporta, 1 week Brock Wright, James Mitchell. Another week is going to be Pound the Rock. So the pieces are in place to have a spectacular offense. And so imagine you have this offense having success, but then you add J-Mo, the home run threat, after week 6. It's going to be fun, and that's where the excitement level rises, is that this offense is going to be special, maybe even top 3. Top 4 last year, maybe even top 3, top 2 this year with Jared Goff and that offensive line and a bunch of offensive weapons. My God, it's just going to be pick your poison. And Laporta, I think, is going to get a lot of yards after the catch. So will David Montgomery, so will Jahmyr Gibbs. And this is where, guys, and I want to say this because you kind of get a sense. Okay, Dan Campbell, Dallas, relationships. So I was walking in Target one day and I saw the Jimmy Johnson book, and it's called Swagger, and it's just got him on the cover. And I'm like, this has a good feel of, okay, let's see his story. And oh my gosh, literally you get a sense that Dan Campbell has at least had a couple of conversations with Coach Jimmy Johnson, because Coach Johnson says that, hey, you got to find players that fit your system, that are different, that can fit multiple roles, that don't have just one lane. And you just realize, you see what the Lions are doing. They're drafting guys that can do 4 or 5 different things, and not just, hey, this is my every down back, this is my slot receiver. No, they want a guy that can understand the route tree and play XYZ, can play at all the spots, can play at different things, can do different things in case of a pinch. And Sam Laporta, I think, can do that. He can be developing as a blocker. He can stay in, or he can go out and handle some routes. And you just realize, wow, the Lions have a vision of who they want. They're going out to get them. And now you have a couple more hungry guys that you've added in Jack Campbell, Brian Branch. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a home run threat. It's just going to be something where you say, wow, this recipe works. And now please turn the oven on correctly to 375. Don't get too hasty. Don't try to be like me and crank it all the way up to 400 and get a Quinnen Williams and maybe make a move that's a little brash. Although it'd be nice, it would maybe add a little bit extra sugar to the recipe. But I think what you've got in your plan is definitely spectacular. And I think it's going to be something where maybe the early bumps of a season will hit, but it won't be 1-6. It might be 3-3. It might be 4-2. But this team learned how to win last year, and let's hope it carries over into the start of 2023.
I think this team has an offense that is so robust and so full of playmakers and game changers that you're right. If you are Ben Johnson, you have to be salivating at what it is that you're going to be able to do with these guys.
You can do it all. You can do it all.
Yeah, exactly. I think with this offense, if for some reason the defense starts slow, the offense should be able to keep you in games and help keep you going. All that being said, when I sat down, I looked at the schedule, and we all do this when the schedule comes out. I have this team winning at least 12 games.
Yeah.
Is it reasonable for this team to be able to win 12 games?
It's reasonable, but is it crazy to think about 12-5? I think
it's nuts, right?
More realistic.
It makes you uncomfortable.
Yes,
as a Lions fan, because we're not used to it.
More realistic, I think 11 is the floor. I think that there's going to be always a scheduled game, a game in which you get nicked up.
11 is the floor. Is that what you just said?
Yes, I think you can.
11 is the floor.
Yes, you can win 11 games. So this team
could win in excess of 12 games, possibly 13, maybe 14.
If you think about it. That first game against KC, if you get that W, now you have so much momentum. You're going to just come into Ford Field at a house that's going to be like significant, and then you're going to just destroy the Seattle Seahawks. You got so many revenge games. There's so much bulletin board material. Seattle didn't punt last year. That's the game where you're going to want to have your defense ready to say, okay, you didn't punt last year, Seattle. We're going to kick your ass. So you have the Panthers game. You have the Raiders on Monday Night Football. You have the Bears in the rivalry. There's so much juice that I just think the players are also going to just have this belief that, man, we didn't get to the postseason and we're messed up. So I think that the hunger is going to be there.
I think floor of 12 is incredibly impressive for a team that is entering year 3 of the rebuild. And look, the hottest team in the NFL right now, I think they have everybody's attention. This team isn't going to sneak up on you. They are going to get everybody's best game every single week. I think those are very strong words, what you just said. The floor is 11. I have this team winning 12 games. I could see a spot where they might eke out a 13th win, but I think it's safe to say this team is winning the North. I think this team is going to challenge. This team is going to challenge for possibly having a bye week in the playoffs. So it's going to be a very interesting Lions season. I think with the additions that they've made in this draft, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, who you've talked about, they've added a couple of different wide receivers. All that being said, it's really hard to replace a talent like Jameson Williams. We've already kind of talked a little bit about what he brings to the table, where he can take the top off the defense, and he is a big play threat waiting to happen. Do you think, with what you've seen so far from Lions rookie minicamp and from what you've seen from the roster construction of this team and bringing in the undrafted free agents, as well as still bringing in a couple of other pieces, do you think this team has made a mistake by not being more aggressive, adding a wide receiver in either free agency or getting a bigger name in the draft to kind of help offset what Jameson Williams isn't going to be bringing? We've already talked about that the offense is incredibly robust and they've got a ton of big play potential. But do you still see that as being a possible weak link on this roster?
That's going to be something to see how the Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks defense address the Lions offense. Do they try to bottleneck everything into the middle? Do they try and just pick their poison and stop the run and force Goff to throw it? That's what I would do. I would just have 8 in the box and force Goff to dink and dunk all the way down the field, and don't let Gibbs and Montgomery beat you, and see what the wide receivers are about. I think you have really a solid opportunity to have a good intermediate passing game. Yeah, you don't have the deep threat, but I think you can patchwork it with tight ends. And unfortunately, when you see the pick of Gibbs and Montgomery, I just think you're going to run the ball a lot more the first couple of games. You're going to want to play ball control and just 2 or 3 deep shots. I think that's kind of the strategy. So no, I don't think you need it because you have Jameson Williams coming back. He is going to be practicing all throughout. He just can't play the first 6 games. So he'll be up to speed right up until the time the games start. So I just think that you got to make do, and you still have the framework of an offense that can be successful. And you still can get a couple opportunities with Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, sometimes got behind the defense, Marvin Jones. You're not going to get the big 50-yard gain. You might get 1 or 2 in the entire 6-game stretch, but you can get a couple 25-yard passes to Khalif and Marvin Jones and kind of just extend it a little bit. So you just got to make do. And because, look, there's just not that many offenses that are just prolific deep threat offenses. For those that don't have those kind of capabilities, that's where you have the elite running game where you can pound the rock. And with that offensive line, pound the rock. Keep Jared Goff upright and play a little bit more conservative. And I think that people expect a shootout against Kansas City, but I think it's going to be more in line of like a 24-27 kind of game because the Lions are going to run the shit out of the football.
Can we get that 54-51 game that Jared Goff competed in a few years ago when it was the Rams versus the Chiefs?
With J-Mo, it would have happened, but not this. No, without him, no, they're going to run the rock.
I don't want that either, though. I think I would be sick to my stomach if I seen them go and they played the Chiefs and it was a 54-51 game. Even if they won, I would be sick to my stomach because you know what that tells me?
Defense ain't
that
better.
Tells me that your defense took 0 steps forward.
Right.
And like what crippled this team during that 1-6 stretch? It was the defense. The defense couldn't get out of its own way and couldn't help out the offense. The offense was doing everything it could do to help this team. This team goes out and plays the Chiefs and gives up 51 points and they still win. Hallelujah, you got a hell of an offense, but Jesus Christ, your defense is putrid and it doesn't look like it learned anything from last year. And I think that would be the most upsetting thing to me.
Yeah, awesome cause. Great opportunity to talk some football early on. Make sure you stay with our podcast at Detroit Podcast as we cover OTAs and mandatory minicamp, an opportunity for about 5 more sessions that will be out there before a nice, healthy 6-week break. And always enjoy breaking football down. I think we're on the same page with the level of excitement that everybody has. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSCHROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Make sure that each and every time a new show drops, if anything you've heard you don't agree with, if you think that Jameson Williams' impact and loss is bigger than what we're making it out to be, let us know. We always enjoy the banter. Thank you for your constructive criticism on our post about John Morant. It was very funny. You guys always bring the hilarious comments and reactions to our questions, and we greatly appreciate it. Anywhere that you love and listen to podcasts, you can find Detroit Sports Podcast, whether it be Odyssey, Spotify, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, anywhere at all. Just type in 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and our audio content will find you. And it's been fun recording well over 500 episodes breaking down Detroit sports. So while the Pistons and Wings aren't lotto lucky, the Lions are a team that's on the rise and might be able to just carry and shoulder the load. But we shall see. because I can't wait for next week when we drop another recording of Doc and Jock.